All right, welcome back to part 5 of the State of Gaming E3 special podcast. And now we're going to talk about Ubisoft and EA, two of the big hitters every year, who both definitely have some interesting games to show off. So we'll start with Ubisoft, and let's jump right into Far Cry 5. Recently announced / revealed / gameplay trailer. Just kind of been a pre-E3 bombardment. Interesting setting. Montana, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah.
Montana, backwater, like very, very American, because all the other games kind of been exotic places. Now we're kind of closer to home, but still kind of exotic because it's kind of countryside, backwater. Like definitely intrigued by the definitely shift in tone and setting. And if the characters are interesting and the story's good, it can definitely help carry it. But I think the main problem I have with Far Cry games and the ones like it is I eventually just get bored because the combat and the general mechanics are very samey. It's like, oh, I need to go kill some boars and make another pouch and clear out another camp and climb another tower, and it's very samey. So I'm hoping that they can kind of spice it up a bit for this
Same
one.
here. I'm wondering how they're going to do that. I know that they mentioned, there's going to be like flying planes, maybe boats. There's going to be a dog companion, which is like, I don't know how that's going to play into it, but sure.
Everyone likes to have their dog companions in their games.
Yeah, it's coming into all our franchises now.
Yeah.
So, dog companions, not really a whole lot else that they mentioned. I think there's a customizable character now.
Yeah.
It's going to be either a guy or a girl, and you can also co-op the entire game, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, makes sense too. Like they had co-op-esque things in Far Cry 4, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, it just makes sense that they would build on that.
For sure. So I mean, the setting's really interesting to me. Like you said, I'm really down for Montana. I'm actually really excited for Far Cry 5. I'm maybe a bit too excited. I just want the villain to be really cool. Like I mean, I really loved Voss in Far Cry 3. I didn't play too much of Far Cry 4, so I don't know how cool Pagan Min was as a villain. But I know he played on a lot of the aspects of what made Voss so cool in 3. I'm hoping 5 does the same thing with their priest or whatever he is. I forget his name, Father something.
Yeah.
But they haven't shown him really in the trailers. I just hope he's really cool as an enemy, and he's like, he makes you hate him, because that's what makes Far Cry good. Is when you hate that villain.
You gotta hate them, but also kind of like respect them in the way you respect just, oh, this guy's just fucking insane,
Yeah,
like,
you gotta kill him. Like, I gotta find a way to kill this guy, and
for more than just because the game tells you to.
Exactly, and even his subordinates. I want his subordinates to have really cool stories as well. Maybe the gunplay could be improved somehow. I'm not sure what they would have to do, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's coming out in February, so we have a lot of time. But I'm sure we'll see more of it in the Ubisoft's conference.
Also interested. There's a lot of, like, at least from what I saw from the trailer, there's a lot of religious overtones.
Yeah.
So I wonder how that's gonna play in, like how much religion is gonna play into the story. Are all these bad guys religious and you're not, or are you all religious, or is it kind of just a backdrop and then it won't really matter? Because I think if they kind of dive into religious philosophy and stuff, and as justification for what the characters are doing, you can get into a much deeper story than, a bunch of pirates kidnapped your girlfriend. I mean, there's a lot of potential.
It's a lot more controversial.
Definitely controversial. I mean, I'm sure there'll be aspects of racism too, because we're dealing with, a setting that, generally is not very fond of other people, to put it one way. So if they really tackle those issues and do it well, because also they could do it really poorly and then just upset people, but if they really tackle them well and really kind of deliver a message, or at least an option, like start off as a way to think about it, it could definitely like take it to the next level. And especially if the gameplay still is very samey as the others, those kind of narrative threads can really elevate the game for people like me who are like interested but not like, oh, I'm gonna buy it right away.
Right. I am a little worried. I already saw there was a bit of controversy to begin with, because people were talking about how you play as a sheriff and you're shooting people in a cult, so you're killing people who are religious, and like, I mean, I read some sort of interview with one of the writers, and he was saying how he didn't mean for there to be any serious political commentary here. So I don't know if we should be looking too deeply into it for that, but I mean, I am interested. Every time you introduce religion as a as a talking point in a game, I think it could be interesting, especially when you're looking at the different layers of it. And you definitely know that some of the good guys are religious too. You know, one of your sidekicks, he's a priest. So you have a priest and you have another priest as villain.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see how
there's a lot of potential.
Right. So yeah, Far Cry 5 definitely. I mean, it's going to be what we love from Far Cry. Hopefully less of what we hate from Far Cry. That's all I can say about that. So next up, I think you have a lot to say about this. Assassin's Creed Empire or Egypt or whatever it's going to be called.
Origins, all of the above.
Yeah, that.
I think this is a very important game for the franchise because, I mean, since the end of Ezio's trilogy, it's kind of started going down. Like, there's been bright spots. Like, Assassin's Creed 3 was ultimately a disappointment, at least for me. Like, the setting was great, but then you kind of realize the limitations of not having an actual big city to jump around in, and jumping around in trees is just not as fun. It's just the way it is. The main character was definitely more than a few steps below Ezio's overall character.
One thing I will say I think I preferred in 3 was the combat. I really thought that the fighting was like super.
Yeah, they definitely
a lot of weapons.
Got that down. And then you had Black Flag, which was great because it kind of just built on one of the few good things in 3, which was the ships. So that was good for people who wanted to live out their pirate fantasy. But again, for me, what I really liked about the Assassin's Creed games was like strongly immersing in history and the big cities and the historical characters, which were still in the other games too, obviously. But I feel like it kind of lost its way. And then when I tried to go back to that with Unity, that was a whole mess for a variety of reasons that weren't just because the game itself was written poorly or whatever. It was just a technical mess, which even if it was not as bad as we all think it is, it was ruined by that. And then there was Syndicate, which again seemed like it was going in the right direction, but it just wasn't fresh enough. You know, it was
That's right.
So going all the way back to ancient Egypt, and from what I was reading about it, it's like the origins of the Assassin Order and their first conflict with the Templars. That has a lot of potential as like a way to flesh out the backstory for the whole overall conflict of the games. And the setting too, to me, is probably the best aspect of it. This is a really interesting setting, both historically and visually. You know, it's got the pyramids and big cities, and there's a lot of potential here. And I think it could be the jolt in the arm that the franchise needs to kind of get everybody back on its good side. I think taking a year off from the franchise was the best idea they could have done, because now everyone's kind of like been away from it now for almost 2 years, and it's like, okay, we're not burnt out on it anymore. Exactly. We're ready to see, okay, what can you bring to the table now that's going to differentiate yourself from that first era, if you want, of Assassin's Creed. You can almost see it as like a new era. So calling it Origins and going back in time, like it's a soft reboot almost.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's always potential with that if they really run with it and take chances and make it fresh. It can be really good, and I'm definitely looking forward to actually seeing something from it besides a leaked screenshot and speculation. Because that could get me back into the franchise if they really nail it with this one.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too. I would like to play a new, fun new reimagining of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. Next
Next up, we got The Crew 2, which was just recently confirmed. Which is, I mean, The Crew 1 wasn't really that great.
Yeah.
It was sort of just a mediocre racing game. They had some good ideas. I'm hoping that they can flesh out a little more in the sequel. Not really personally that interested in The Crew, but if they can expand on the fact that you're driving cross country and make the maps a little bigger, then maybe make the car more variety of cars. I'm not really sure what they could do at this point, but clearly they had some idea to make a sequel and make it better, so
yeah.
I guess we'll see what they can do with that.
That's just one of those things. I mean, not super interested, but hey, you never know.
Right. Next up, we got South Park Fractured But Whole, which was delayed to October now, I think.
I think so.
It's recently delayed till October, and I mean, we all know what to expect from this at this point. We know that it's basically going to be like the Stick of Truth, but now they're going for a more strategic form of combat, where rather than just going back and forth turn-based, now you have little squares you can move your characters around in. It looks funny, it looks ridiculous. Yeah. It's what we've come to expect from South Park in games now, from playing Stick of Truth. Stick of Truth was great. I'm hoping they can really they can repeat that with Fractured But Whole.
Yeah.
then I can't say that.
That's a good start.
then I'd be really happy.
Yeah.
And I love the concept
Yeah.
of making it sort of like a civil war between like it's supposed to be like
Spoofing on the Marvel Civil
Yeah.
War sort of stuff, and
but it's actually like Marvel versus DC,
Yeah.
which is I think it's hilarious that they're doing that.
all they really need to do is just take the first game and just keep going with it. Like, you don't
gotta
really
keep up with the humor.
Yeah, just gotta keep with the humor. Don't ruin the gameplay mechanics, and that's it. You got a hit.
Yeah, it's simple enough. I'm very interested. I'm hoping it's also lengthy. I'd like a long game.
Yeah,
Maybe a
sure.
bit more replay value than Stick of Truth, because I beat that and I was like, not really much of a reason to go back, but it was fun. It was like playing a few episodes of South Park.
If your only complaint about a game is that you don't want to replay it because there's no replay value, that's not a bad thing.
it's
The
not
fact
the
that you
worst
beat it is good enough,
Yeah, I even did a lot while I was playing it.
Yeah.
So it was very fun. All right, so we're gonna get a new Just Dance. We're not even gonna discuss this. This is just gonna be new Just Dance. This is
a terrible
Ubisoft's
dance
conference.
sequence pulled from some Katy Perry concert, probably, and it's just
Where
no
did
one's
Katy
gonna
Perry
care.
take it from Ubisoft?
Those are the real questions.
Right, and lastly, there's just some speculation. We know we're gonna probably get a new Tom Clancy game
Yeah.
because
Or at least some
what are we
new
doing for that?
content for the new Wildlands, maybe.
Oh yeah, well, we know that there's a season pass for
Yeah.
that, so there's gonna be some expansion for it for sure. I don't know if there's gonna be anything from the Division or from Rainbow Six Siege. I wouldn't mind getting a new Splinter Cell. It has been a while since we got Blacklist, and we haven't had any new Splinter Cells in a while. I think it's about time we got something.
It definitely could be something they throw out there as a nice little surprise towards the end of the show or something.
I'd be so stoked to get that, and maybe with some new features too.
Yeah.
Thrown in.
Maybe a new character. Maybe he'll do like a God of War thing. You'll have a younger up and comer as you'll be
Sam
mentoring.
Fisher's daughter.
Maybe, or he'll adopt some guy or something. Like, I'm gonna just teach you to be me so I can go die somewhere.
Yeah, they might do that. I wouldn't even mind that much if they played this off really well.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's pretty much all we can expect from Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Other than the inevitable surprises they have, maybe with whether it's indie games or not.
Or some VR games.
Right.
That what was
Eagle
that game?
Flight.
Yeah, Eagle Flight. Maybe something like that. And I'm sure we'll get a lot of awkward jokes from Aisha Taylor and
Well, it wouldn't be E3 without that, would it?
and everyone commenting how she's like 3 feet taller than the CEO of Ubisoft and
I
everything.
actually just saw that just while we watched that the other day. That's funny you
Yeah.
mentioned. All right, the next up we got EA.
Yeah.
So one thing we can really expect from EA, and I think that there's 100% chance we're going to see this, is a lot of sports.
Yeah.
As usual, we're going to get soccer,
Yeah.
football, hockey.
Basketball, probably.
Yeah,
We'll
get sports.
We get a little bit of everything.
We'll get
Apparently,
sports.
they're bringing some rapper on to do some performance, and because we care about that.
And a video game conference, that's right. So, great. So we got sports out of the way.
Yeah.
I did hear they're making a new Need for Speed that might show up as well. I don't know anything about that right now because that's totally under wraps. They did a soft reboot with the last one. It was sort of okay. It wasn't amazing. Hoping they kind of figure it out, give us a classic style Need for Speed, because I mean, it's not too complicated. It's very arcadey to get a good Need for Speed out there, and I hope they get it right. Now for the fun stuff, Star Wars.
Oh
right?
yeah.
So there's a lot of Star Wars games in the making right now.
Yeah.
One of them that we know of is Battlefront 2,
Yeah.
which visually looks stunning. There's a single-player campaign, which had been in high demand, and
Multiple eras. Space
eras.
combat.
oh yeah, it's all the good stuff's there. So we're very happy to hear that.
Here's I need to say something
Sure.
on that. Like, it's great that they're giving us what we asked for, but I hate that everyone's kind of just okay with it, because this is what we knew they were going to do from the beginning.
Yeah.
When the first Battlefront came out, as about bare bones as a beta testing game as you're ever going to get, we all knew. I said it to everybody. I'm like, the next one's going to have everything. Don't buy this game. And now it has everything, and everyone's like, oh my god, look, EA's so great. Like, no. They ripped you all off for $80 on that first game, knowing full well that the second game was going to have all these features. And I still want to see exactly how extensive these features are. How long is the single-player campaign? How much of the other eras are actually clear? Like, yeah, we saw Darth Maul, and we saw Yoda. But are the droids? Is Trade Federation's going to be there? Clone War, like they say all eras, but we haven't seen any footage of it yet. How extensive is it going to be? How good is the space combat going to be? So yeah, I'm glad to see that they're not just continuing to not have these things. But I don't like that everyone's just kind of forgetting that they ripped everyone off in the first place.
The only thing I can say to that is that Respawn did the same thing with Titanfall, but it was really it seemed sincere from them. Like, Titanfall 2 came out and it really had a great campaign. Yeah. It had great multiplayer and it had all these free DLCs.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Battlefront 2 is going to go as far as that free DLC.
No.
But I still think that they're... I don't hate them necessarily for doing what they did because I just didn't buy the first one. Yeah. Like, you look at it and like if you think that's bare bones, then don't buy it.
I played the open beta for it, and I was like, it's fun, but it's not $80 worth.
Yeah, that's where I was.
And I think the difference between them and Titanfall is because they're rebooting a franchise, and it's not wrong to expect a game made, what was it, however many years later, than its success than its predecessor, to have what its predecessor have. Like, we have the technology, why can't you give us space combat? Oh, it's because you wanted to make sure the game came out with the new movie because you wanted to make money. So, don't act like that's like, come on. And you know what's going to happen. I'm calling it right here, right now. We're going to get a better Battlefront 3 in 2 years when Episode 9 comes out.
Well, better how? Like, it's going to have all 3 gens.
It's going to have whatever this game doesn't have, because like I was saying before, we don't know how extensive the other eras will be, how many heroes. All we know is, like, the new movie heroes, presumably Darth Vader, Luke, and the ones and the others, and Darth Maul and Yoda. Are they going to have, like, Ki-Adi-Mundi or General Grievous or Jango Fett or any of these guys? Maybe. But if they don't, they definitely will in 2 years.
But I don't know what else you'd expect them to do. I mean, they have to have a better sequel somehow, right? So, I mean, even if there is a Battlefront 3, they have to improve on Battlefront 2 in some way.
But there are ways to make a better sequel besides just withholding content for that sequel. Like, just give us everything and then add new things that the older games didn't have. Because by the end, we're going to have Battlefront 3, and maybe that'll live up gameplay and content-wise to Battlefront 2. You should have just given us that from the start and then added new things we didn't know we wanted, instead of just giving us every 2 years things we know we want.
Okay, I see what you mean. I feel like we gotta wait till we see a bit more from Battlefront 2.
Yeah. Again, this is all speculative. Maybe during their conference they'll show us and they'll have everything Battlefront 2 had, and then I'll be like, okay, all right, I take back what I said. But I don't think that's what's going to happen, because they showed very little when they revealed it. They said what they needed to say, and it got everybody excited, but we'll see how much they actually is, how many maps there are, how many guns there are.
Maps are important.
And such, so...
I'm hoping we see that.
I'm still very skeptical, but obviously they can change my mind if they show me that they're going to have all these things.
For sure. So we know that they're also working on other ones, right? It could be even Knights of the Republic.
Yeah, there was that rumor floating around a month ago that BioWare was going to do some kind of soft reboot or whatever on Knights of the Republic. Maybe, probably not. And let's be honest.
Well, you don't think it would be as good?
No, because all right, I'm gonna dive in here. But maybe it'll be good because look, BioWare needs a win. They have been more or less in the shitter since, I'll go even so far back as say since Dragon Age 2. Because let's be honest, as much as you can defend Mass Effect 3, it can't escape the shadow of its ending. But even if you want to take that as a starting point, that's fine. What has come out since then? Dragon Age Inquisition. A decent game with MMO side quests and just overall not quite up. Like, better than Dragon Age 2, not as good as Origins. And then we had Mass Effect Andromeda, which was its own mess. And again, very similar to Inquisition, was not bad, but not great. There's clearly some edge to these games that is missing compared to older BioWare games, or pre-full EA takeover BioWare, if you want to really get into that. So they need something, because as dedicated as the fans are to BioWare, there's going to come a point where that 18,000th disappointment is finally like, okay, I'm done. You know, for some of us, all it took was Mass Effect 3. For others, they're still holding out hope. But if you keep releasing, by their standards at least, mediocre games, eventually it's going to stop working. So maybe a KOTOR 3, that's something that's going to get a lot of attention and will sell well even if it's bad, because people buy games before deciding whether they're actually good or not. But if it's good, like, that could save the company. Like, I know financially they're probably fine, but at the same time we saw what happened to no one got laid off, but they completely restructured their studios after Andromeda, which I don't think was the plan. I think it was as a result of how Andromeda did. Because if Andromeda was great, then they would keep that team together and get working on Andromeda too. But they're not. So they need that, or maybe some other Star Wars game that isn't KOTOR related.
Well, we know that I forgot her name, but she was in charge of making Uncharted 2, I think. She's part of Uncharted 2, now she's making a Star Wars game.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be 1313, I think, or now we're going to get something else.
Yeah,
maybe
something
some
in
version of it.
that vein. But I think, isn't that... it's not BioWare, though. That's...
No, that's...
the guys from Dead Space, right? Are they making Visceral games? I think
Is it Visceral?
I know they're making one. I don't know if it was that one, but...
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's Visceral, but one of them is making a Uncharted-style action Star Wars game, which, please... That
could be great.
Please.
That could work out really well.
Just give me more Star Wars games. That's all I ask for. It's an action game or something.
So yeah, we can get that with Battlefront. I'm sure there'll be some more Star Wars VR games.
Oh yeah, I didn't even consider that.
And what I'm hoping too is something we're not expecting from a Star Wars game. You know, like we know we're getting Battlefront, we know we're getting the Uncharted one. I mean, maybe we're getting something KOTOR related, but if they throw some crazy curveball out there that just really like a Bethesda styled open world RPG Star Wars game,
don't do this to me.
Then you get people's attention.
Well, this is a prime time to do it, right? We have the new Star Wars coming up in the holidays, so I mean,
this is the time to, even if they're not necessarily releasing right now, now's the time to get the hype going.
That's exactly it.
And then build off the hype of the movie if they could release like in the first half of next year or something. But yeah, back to BioWare too. As we found out recently, there's a new Dragon Age in the works.
Right.
And we also know about their new IP as well. Like these are potentially the most important games, and whatever maybe special Star Wars game they may or may not be working on, that the company's ever going to make. Because if the new Dragon Age comes out and is more or less on par with, let's say, Inquisition, it's not going to fly. And if this new IP flops, especially because it's a new IP and there's probably a lot of money going into it, then, like, you know, we can argue that BioWare's been dead for years already, but now we can say literally they are going to die because they're going to lose out on being profitable, and that's obviously all that EA cares about. So I mean, they may not end up showing a lot, but this year or next year is very, very important for BioWare, because no matter how you look at it, Andromeda did not live up to the hype, did not save the franchise or the developer, so they need to win. Maybe it's a new IP, but I doubt it, because from what I'm hearing, it's a multiplayer focused game coming from BioWare. Yeah, that's going to work out.
I'm just gonna hope for the best here.
Yeah.
I'm just holding on for hope right now that BioWare does redeem themselves. I can't say, I mean, they are making changes. They did see the flaws of their ways with Andromeda. I'm hoping that does lead them to do something right with the new Dragon Age. Maybe they can learn from their mistakes from Dragon Age Inquisition and from Andromeda, and together.
You'd hope.
I'm gonna wait with bated breath to see what they're able to do, and maybe even if it's new Star Wars, but no matter what it is, I'm hoping that they get things right this time around.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else from EA that we're missing, or
maybe Battlefield 1 DLC? But
yeah, I'm sure they'll have some segment of that, because they just announced some DLC where you can play as a female soldier, and I think it's like Russian based.
Aside from that, I think that pretty much covers EA and Ubisoft for me.
Yep. All right.
Aside from the unpredictable.
So that's it for part 5, and then we'll move on to part 6 to wrap up.